What if one split-second decision could change your entire life? When Belinda Whitaker sees an unfamiliar face at her door, she makes a phone call that sets off a chain reaction no one saw coming. As police lights flash and neighbors gather, simple delivery becomes something much more complicated. But there's something neither Belinda nor Marcus knows yet. Something that will connect them in a way neither could imagine. Something that will be revealed only when the truth finally comes to light. This is a story about what happens when we judge others too quickly, and the unexpected ways our lives can intersect without us even realizing. Belinda Whitaker froze when she spotted the unfamiliar van through her living room blinds. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and she wasn't expecting any deliveries. The white van with blue lettering pulled up to the curb in front of her house, and a man she had never seen before stepped out. "Who is that?" Belinda muttered to herself, squinting to get a better look. The delivery driver was tall with broad shoulders. He wore a brown uniform and carried a large package under his arm. Belinda watched as he checked something on his handheld device, then started walking up her neatly trimmed pathway. Her heart began to beat faster. This wasn't Jamie, the regular delivery guy who usually brought her packages. Jamie was shorter, with reddish hair and freckles. This driver was different. This driver was black. Belinda grabbed her cell phone from the coffee table and moved closer to the window, peeking through the blinds. The man approached her porch with confident steps, holding the package carefully. "I don't like this one bit," she whispered, unlocking her phone with shaky fingers. The delivery man, his name tag read Marcus Johnson, placed the box gently on her welcome mat. He took out his device, snapped a picture of the delivered package, and turned to leave. But Belinda had already dialed 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" The operator's voice was calm and professional. "Yes, hello?" Belinda said in a rushed whisper, eyes still fixed on the man through the blinds. "There's a suspicious person on my property. A man I don't recognize just left something at my door. Ma'am, can you describe this person?" Belinda watched as Marcus walked back down her path. "He's a large black man in some kind of uniform. I think he's pretending to be a delivery person, but I've never seen him before. He just put something on my porch." "Did you see any company logo or markings on his vehicle?" "There's some delivery company logo, but anyone can get a fake uniform these days. This isn't my regular delivery person." Belinda's voice grew more urgent. "He could be casing houses in the neighborhood. Please send someone quickly." The operator asked for her address, which Belinda provided along with her name. "We'll send officers to check it out right away, Ms. Whitaker. In the meantime, please stay inside with your doors locked." "Thank you. Please hurry." Belinda ended the call and continued watching through the blinds. Marcus Johnson had no idea what was happening as he returned to his van. He checked his delivery schedule on his tablet. 6 more stops to go, and then he could head home to Emma and the kids. His daughter had a school play tonight, and he promised he wouldn't miss it. This was his second week covering this route, while Jamie was on vacation. Most customers had been friendly enough, though few actually came to the door anymore. That's how deliveries work these days. Drop the package, take a photo, move on to the next one. Marcus climbed into his van and updated the delivery status for Ms. Whitaker's package, a subscription box from a popular clothing service. As he was about to pull away from the curb, he glanced in his rearview mirror and noticed a police car turning onto the street, lights flashing but no siren. "I wonder what that's about," he thought, putting his seatbelt on. Inside her house, Belinda felt a wave of relief at the sight of the approaching police car. She straightened her blouse and ran her fingers through her hair, preparing to speak with the officers. Her Ring doorbell camera glowed quietly beside her front door, its small light indicating it was working properly. The camera had captured everything. Marcus's arrival, his careful placement of the package, and his departure. Every professional move was recorded in high definition, though Belinda hadn't thought to check the footage before making her call. The police car pulled up behind the delivery van, and a second cruiser appeared from around the corner. Two officers emerged from each vehicle, approaching Marcus's van with caution. Belinda smiled with satisfaction. She was protecting her neighborhood, she told herself. Better safe than sorry. Outside, Marcus noticed the police cars now blocking his van. His stomach dropped as he watched the officers approach, their hands hovering near their weapons. "What's going on?" he whispered to himself, his heart beginning to race as one officer motioned for him to roll down his window. In the distance, sirens from another approaching police car wailed through the quiet suburban streets. Marcus Johnson gripped the steering wheel tightly as the first officer reached his window. "Step out of the vehicle slowly. Hands where I can see them," the officer commanded, his voice stern. Marcus's mind raced. What had he done wrong? Was he speeding? Did he miss a stop sign? He took a deep breath and replied, "Yes, officer." With trembling hands, Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt and carefully opened the door. He stepped out just as instructed, keeping his hands visible. "I'm just delivering packages, sir," Marcus explained, trying to keep his voice steady. "This is my job." Two more officers positioned themselves around the van, while the fourth approached cautiously. "We received a report of suspicious activity at 847 Maple Avenue," said the first officer, a white man whose nameplate read, "Officer Daniels." "Can you explain what you were doing at that residence?" Marcus blinked in confusion. 847 Maple? I just delivered a package there. It's on my route." He gestured toward his tablet on the driver's seat. "I have proof of delivery right there." From her living room window, Belinda Whitaker watched with satisfaction. The neighborhood would be safer thanks to her vigilance, she thought. She opened her front door and stepped onto her porch, arms crossed over her chest. Officer Daniels glanced toward the house, then back at Marcus. "May I see some identification, please?" "My ID is in my pocket," Marcus said carefully. "I'm going to reach for it very slowly." The officer nodded, hand still near his weapon. Marcus pulled out his wallet and removed his driver's license and work badge. "I've been a delivery driver for 6 years. I'm just covering this route while Jamie is on vacation." A small crowd of neighbors had begun to gather on their porches and lawns, watching the scene unfold. Among them was Zoe Chen from across the street, who recognized Marcus immediately. "What's going on?" she called out, walking toward the police cars. "That's our delivery guy!" Officer Daniels raised a hand to keep her at a distance. "Ma'am, please stay back. We're conducting an investigation." "Investigation of what?" Zoe persisted, pulling out her phone. "I see this man deliver packages here all the time." Marcus felt a wave of relief at someone speaking up for him, but his heart was still pounding. All he could think about was his daughter's play tonight. 6-year-old Lily was playing a sunflower, and he had promised to be in the front row. "Officer," Marcus said, trying to maintain his composure, "I understand you're doing your job, but I'm just doing mine too. My delivery manifest is on my tablet. You can call my supervisor to verify everything." A second officer picked up the tablet from the van seat, scrolling through the delivery information. "There's a whole list of addresses here," the officer confirmed. "All in this neighborhood." Belinda stepped off her porch and approached the scene, her high heels clicking on the sidewalk. "That's not our regular delivery person," she insisted, loudly. "I've never seen him before. He left something suspicious on my porch." Officer Daniels looked at her. "Are you the caller, ma'am?" "Yes, I'm Belinda Whitaker. I live at 847 Maple." She pointed at Marcus, This man was on my property, and I didn't recognize him. It's a package from Stitchbox, Marcus explained patiently. It's a monthly clothing subscription. I delivered the same thing to Ms. Chen last week. Zoe nodded in confirmation. He's right. I get my Stitchbox every month, and he's been delivering it since Jamie went on vacation. More neighbors had gathered now. Vernon Harris, a retired teacher who lived next door to Belinda, walked over with the help of his cane. "What's all this? Commotion about?" he asked, looking from the police officers to Marcus and then to Belinda. "This woman called the police on the delivery man," Zoe explained, her phone still recording. "For doing his job." Vernon frowned. "Young man," he said to Marcus, "didn't you deliver my medication last Thursday?" Marcus nodded, relief washing over his face. "Yes, sir. The package from MedExpress." The officers exchanged glances. Officer Daniels looked at the delivery manifest again, then at Belinda. "Ms. Whitaker, did you check what was delivered to your porch?" Belinda shifted uncomfortably. "Well, no. I didn't want to touch it. It could be anything." "Ma'am," Officer Daniels said with growing impatience, "what exactly made you suspicious of this delivery driver?" Belinda struggled to find words. He didn't look like our regular driver, and he was walking around, looking at houses." "You mean delivering packages?" Zoe interrupted. "That's literally his job." Belinda's face flushed red. "I was just being cautious. You can never be too careful these days." Marcus stood silently, still surrounded by officers, aware that every eye in the growing crowd was on him. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened, but it never got easier. Officer Daniels turned to Belinda. "Ma'am, do you have a security camera? A Ring doorbell, perhaps?" Belinda hesitated. "Yes, I do. Would you mind if we review the footage? It might help clear things up." Belinda's confident demeanor faltered. I suppose that would be fine." As they spoke, Zoe continued recording with her phone, capturing every word of the exchange. She had already pressed the live stream button, and dozens of people were watching in real time. Marcus glanced at his watch. If this wrapped up soon, he might still make it to Lily's play. But as he looked at the determination on Belinda's face, he wasn't so sure. "Let's take a look at that footage, Ms. Whitaker," Officer Daniels said, gesturing toward her house. Belinda turned and walked back to her porch, the officer following close behind. Marcus remained by his van, still under the watchful eye of the other officers. Zoe stepped closer to him, her phone still recording. "This is wrong," she said quietly. "I'm making sure people see what's happening here." Marcus nodded gratefully, but remained silent. Years of experience had taught him to be careful with his words in situations like this. As Belinda reached her front door, she glanced back at the gathering crowd, the police cars with flashing lights, and Marcus standing beside his delivery van. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. Zoe Chen stepped forward from the growing crowd, her phone held high, still recording. She approached the officers who remained with Marcus. "I want to make a statement," she announced clearly. "I know this delivery driver. He's been covering our route for the past 2 weeks while our regular driver is on vacation." Officer Williams, a younger officer with short brown hair, took out a notepad. "You're saying you recognize this man?" "Absolutely," Zoe confirmed. "His name is Marcus Johnson. He delivered a package to my house just yesterday." She swiped through her phone and held it up to show the officers. "Look, I have a photo of him delivering my package last week too. I have a notification system that takes pictures when deliveries arrive." The photo clearly showed Marcus placing a box on Zoe's porch, dressed in the same uniform he wore today. Officer Williams studied the photo, then looked at Marcus. How long have you been covering this route, Mr. Johnson? Just over 2 weeks, sir, Marcus replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I can show you my assignment log if you'd like. Vernon Harris, the retired teacher, tapped his cane on the ground to get everyone's attention. Though in his 70s, his voice still carried the authority of his 40 years in the classroom. I'd like to add something, he said. This young man has delivered several packages to me recently. He always places them carefully by my door because he knows I have trouble bending down. Vernon turned to give Belinda a disapproving look. There was absolutely nothing suspicious about him or his behavior. More neighbors joined the growing circle. He delivered my Amazon order on Monday, called out a woman in a yellow sundress. He brought my grocery delivery last Friday, added another man from down the street. Officer Daniels, who had followed Belinda to her door, listened to the chorus of support with growing interest. He turned to Belinda, who was now fumbling with her keys, her earlier confidence clearly shaken. Ma'am, it seems Mr. Johnson is well known in the neighborhood, he observed. What specifically made you believe he was suspicious today? Belinda's face flushed deeper. I didn't recognize him. I'm used to seeing Jamie, and this man was different. Different? How? Officer Daniels pressed. Belinda stammered. He's just not who I expected to see. And he was looking around the property. I always scan for a safe place to leave packages, Marcus explained calmly from where he stood. Away from rain, hidden, from street view to prevent theft. It's company policy. Zoe stepped closer to the officers. I have more evidence, she said, continuing to record. I have at least 5 delivery notifications on my phone showing Marcus delivering packages in this neighborhood over the past 2 weeks. She swiped through her phone gallery, showing the officers multiple images of Marcus delivering packages to various homes in the area. In each picture, he was clearly identifiable, professionally placing packages at different doors. These are all from my home security system, Zoe explained. The timestamps and dates are visible in each photo. Officer Williams examined the photos carefully. These all match our delivery driver here, he confirmed to his colleagues. The crowd had grown larger now. Some neighbors were taking videos with their phones, while others whispered among themselves. The atmosphere had shifted noticeably, from concern about a suspicious person to concern about why police cars were surrounding a legitimate delivery driver. A young mother with a toddler on her hip approached. Marcus always says hello to my son when he delivers our packages, she told the officers. He even helped me carry a heavy box inside last week when I had my hands full with the baby. Marcus stood quietly, letting the neighbors speak for him. His eyes occasionally darted to his watch. Lily's play started in 2 hours, and he still had deliveries to complete. Officer Daniels returned his attention to Belinda, who was now standing in her doorway looking increasingly uncomfortable. Ms. Whitaker, given what we're hearing from your neighbors, I need to ask you again if there was something specific about Mr. Johnson's behavior today that concerned you. Belinda's lips tightened. I was just being cautious. You always tell us to report suspicious persons. Yes, ma'am, but what made this person suspicious to you? Officer Daniels asked more firmly. The crowd grew quiet, waiting for her answer. Belinda looked around nervously. He just looked out of place in this neighborhood. A collective murmur ran through the crowd. Zoe's eyes widened as she continued. Recording. Out of place? Officer Williams repeated. Can you elaborate on what you mean by that? Belinda crossed her arms defensively. I just didn't recognize him, that's all. And with all the package thefts in the news lately, I was being careful. Vernon Harris shook his head. The only package thefts we've had were last Christmas, and they caught that teenager from 2 streets over. he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Officer Daniels sighed. Ms. Whitaker, making a false report to police is a serious matter. It ties up resources that might be needed for actual emergencies. I wasn't making a false report, Belinda protested. I really thought. Let's review your Ring camera footage, Officer Daniels interrupted. That should clear things up. Belinda hesitated, her hand on the doorknob. I don't think that's necessary now. Clearly, there's been a misunderstanding. And I believe it is necessary, ma'am, Officer Daniels insisted. If Mr. Johnson was behaving suspiciously, the footage will show that. Marcus spoke up from beside his van, his voice calm but carrying across the now quiet street. I have nothing to hide, officer. I delivered a stitch box package at 2:17 p.m., took the confirmation photo as required, and returned to my vehicle to continue my route. Belinda looked trapped. She glanced at the neighbors watching, at Zoe's phone still recording, at the police officers waiting expectantly. Fine, she said through gritted teeth. We can check the footage. She turned and pushed, open her front door, letting Officer Daniels follow her inside. The door closed behind them, leaving the remaining officers, Marcus, and the crowd of neighbors outside in the tense silence. One of the officers walked over to Marcus. I'm going to need to see your delivery schedule and check with your supervisor, he said, but his tone had softened considerably. Of course, Marcus agreed, reaching for his tablet. My supervisor is Tracy Wells. Her contact information is right here. As the officer made the call to verify Marcus's employment, Zoe stepped closer. I'm sorry this is happening to you, she said quietly, lowering her phone for a moment. Marcus gave her a small, tired smile. Thank you for speaking up. Not everyone would. Inside Belinda's house, Officer Daniels stood in her living room as she pulled up the Ring doorbell app on her phone. Her hands trembled slightly as she navigated to today's recordings. Here at Tifiat's is, she said reluctantly, turning the screen toward the officer. As the video began to play, Officer Daniels watched closely, looking for any sign of suspicious behavior. What would the evidence reveal about what really happened on Belinda's porch just 30 minutes ago? The Ring camera footage was crystal clear. Marcus Johnson appeared on screen, walking up Belinda's path with a package tucked carefully under his arm. His movements were unhurried and professional. He approached the porch, placed the package gently by the door, and took a quick photo with his delivery device. Then he turned and walked away. The entire interaction lasted less than 20 seconds. Officer Daniels rewound the video and watched it again. Ms. Whitaker, can you point out what you found suspicious about this delivery? Belinda crossed her arms tight against her chest. Well, he was looking around a lot. Looking around how? Officer Daniels asked, watching the footage for a third time. I see him checking the house number and looking down to make sure he didn't trip on your garden hose. He lingered too long, Belinda tried again. He was on your porch for exactly 17 seconds according to the timestamp, Officer Daniels pointed out. That's hardly lingering. Belinda's face grew redder. Well, I didn't know who he was. Jamie usually delivers our packages, officer. Daniels paused the video and zoomed in. His uniform is clearly visible, as is his ID badge. He tapped the screen where the package sat on the porch. And this package is clearly addressed to you. I can read Belinda Whitaker on the label. Belinda stared at the frozen image, her excuses running thin. Ms. Whitaker, Officer Daniels said, his voice now stern, did you verify this was your package before calling 911? No, she admitted quietly. Did you look out your door to speak with the delivery person? No. Did you check the delivery notification on your phone? I see the Ring app sent an alert when motion was detected. Belinda's eyes dropped to the floor. No, I didn't. Officer Daniels sighed and put away his notebook. "Ma'am, what we have here is a legitimate delivery driver doing his job correctly. There was nothing suspicious about his behavior." Outside, Marcus had shown the officers his delivery schedule and company ID. His supervisor, reached by phone, had confirmed he was assigned to this route while Jamie Peterson was on vacation. "Everything checks out," Officer Williams told Marcus, handing back his tablet. "Sorry for the inconvenience, sir." Marcus nodded, relief washing over him. "Thank you, officer. I understand you were just responding to a call." The crowd of neighbors had grown larger, with many people recording the scene on their phones. One woman, Tanya Patel, had been filming since the beginning, capturing every moment from when the first police car arrived. "This isn't right," she said to another neighbor. "He was just doing his job." Officer Daniels emerged from Belinda's house, followed by a subdued Belinda. The officer walked directly to Marcus. "Mr. Johnson, I've reviewed the Ring camera footage, and there's absolutely nothing suspicious about your delivery. You acted professionally and followed proper procedure." He extended his hand. "I apologize for the disruption to your day." Marcus shook the officer's hand. "Thank you, sir." Officer Daniels turned to address the gathered neighbors. "Folks, there's no situation here. Everyone can go back to their homes." But the crowd didn't disperse. All eyes were on Belinda, who stood on her porch, looking both embarrassed and defiant. Zoe Chen stepped forward. "Aren't there consequences for making false police reports?" Officer Daniels spoke carefully. "We'll be having a conversation with Ms. Whitaker about appropriate use of emergency services." Belinda finally walked down from her porch and approached Marcus, though she couldn't quite meet his eyes. "I'm sorry for the confusion," she said stiffly, not sounding particularly sorry at all. Marcus simply nodded. "I need to finish my route," he said quietly. "I have more packages to deliver, and my daughter has a school play tonight." The mention of his daughter made Belinda flinch slightly. Officer Daniels turned to his colleagues. "We're done here. Let's clear out and let Mr. Johnson get back to work." As the officers returned to their vehicles, Marcus climbed into his delivery van. He sat there for a moment, taking deep breaths, trying to calm his racing heart. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened to him, but it never got easier. The neighbors slowly dispersed, many of them giving Belinda cold looks as they returned to their homes. Zoe, however, remained with her phone in hand. "I think people should see what happened here today," she said loud enough for Belinda to hear. Belinda spun around. "You're not posting that video anywhere." "Public street, public sidewalk," Zoe replied firmly. "What happened here shouldn't be swept under the rug." Tanya Patel joined Zoe. "I have the whole thing on video too, from the moment the police cars arrived." Belinda's face paled. "You can't do that. That's invasion of privacy." "Actually, they can," Vernon Harris interjected, leaning on his cane. "You created a public spectacle on a public street. There's no expectation of privacy." As Marcus started his van, Zoe walked over and tapped on his window. He rolled it down cautiously. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry this happened," Zoe said. "It wasn't right." Marcus gave her a tired smile. "Thank you for speaking up. Not everyone would have." "I'm posting this video," Zoe told him. "People need to see what happened. Is that okay with you?" Marcus thought for a moment. "I'd appreciate if you could blur my face. My kids don't need to see this." Zoe nodded. "Of course." As Marcus drove away, Belinda stormed back into her house and slammed the door. She stood in her entryway, shaking with emotion, embarrassment, anger, and a small, unwelcome feeling that might have been shame. Her phone pinged with a notification. The package she'd called 911 about was still sitting on her porch. Belinda opened her front door and picked it up. Just as Officer Daniels had pointed out, it was clearly labeled with her name, Belinda Whitaker, Stitchbox monthly subscription. Back inside, she put the box on her kitchen counter and poured herself a large glass of wine. Her phone pinged again. This time it was a text from her friend Diane. "Is that you in the video that's going viral? The one with the delivery driver?" Belinda nearly dropped her glass. "What video?" she whispered, her fingers trembling as she opened her social media app. There it was, already being shared thousands of times. White woman calls cops on black delivery driver doing his job. Delivery while brown. Belinda sank into a chair, her face in her hands. What had she done? Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications poured in from every social media app she had. Texts from friends, family, and coworkers filled her screen. Everyone seemed to be asking the same thing. "Is this you in the video?" Belinda's fingers shook as she tapped on the most recent link. The video had already been viewed over 50,000 times, and the count was climbing rapidly. Zoe had kept her promise to Marcus. His face was blurred, but Belinda's was crystal clear. The caption read, "White woman calls 911 on delivery driver for doing his job. Delivery driver while black. Karen calls 911. "This isn't fair," Belinda whispered to the empty room. "They don't understand." But as she watched the video, seeing herself from the outside for the first time, Belinda felt a cold knot form in her stomach. Was that really how she had looked? How she had sounded? The doorbell rang, making her jump. Through the window, she could see a news van parked at the curb. A woman in a blazer stood on her porch, microphone in hand. "Ms. Whitaker, Channel 7 News. We'd like to get your side of the story." Belinda backed away from the door, her heart racing. She pulled the blinds shut and turned off the porch light. Her phone rang. Her mother calling from Florida. "Belinda, are you okay? Your cousin Charlotte just sent me a video, and I wanted to make sure—" "Mom, I can't talk right now," Belinda interrupted, her voice tight. "I'll call you back." She hung up and opened her laptop. The video was everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Karen Calls 911 was trending nationally. Some versions of the video included her full name and address, which had been visible on the package in the ring footage. A new text message appeared from her boss, Richard Harmon. "Belinda, please call." Me immediately regarding the video circulating online. Belinda felt sick. She worked as an office manager at Harmon, Westfield & Price, one of the city's most prestigious law firms. The firm's social media accounts were being flooded with angry comments. "Is this the kind of person you employ? Does Harmon and Westfield support racial profiling? Shame on your company for hiring someone who wastes police resources." Across town, Marcus Johnson pulled into his driveway just in time to shower and change before Lily's school play. His wife, Tara, met him at the door with concerned eyes. "You're late. Everything okay?" Marcus hesitated. "Had a situation on my route. I'll tell you later." 5-year-old Lily bounded down the hallway in her sunflower costume, yellow petals framing her beaming face. "Daddy! You made it!" Marcus scooped her up, his earlier stress momentarily forgotten. "Of course I did, sunshine. I promised, didn't I?" As they drove to the elementary school, Marcus's phone kept buzzing. He ignored it until they were parked. "You go on in," he told Tara and Lily. "Save me a seat. I need to check something." Alone. In the car, Marcus looked at his phone. 27 missed calls and dozens of text messages. Most were from co-workers who had seen the viral video. His supervisor had called 3 times. "Marcus, please call me. The video from today is going viral. The company is preparing a statement and we need to talk." He sighed deeply. This was exactly what he hadn't wanted. To become another hashtag, another viral moment, another example. He silenced his phone and went inside to watch his daughters play. Back at her house, Belinda had received an email from Richard Harmon. "Belinda, in light of the video circulating online that appears to show you involved in a concerning incident, we are placing you on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Please do not report to the office tomorrow. We will be in touch." Tears filled her eyes as she read the email twice, then a third time. She had worked at the firm for 8 years. Would she lose her job over this? More news vans had arrived outside. Reporters knocked on her door every few minutes. Her phone continued to buzz with calls and texts, many from numbers she didn't recognize. Some messages were supportive. "Stay strong. The media is blowing this out of proportion." But most were angry, some downright threatening. Belinda turned off her phone and closed her laptop. She pulled the blinds on every window and sat in the darkness of her living room, the untouched stitch box still on her counter. By morning, the video had millions of views. National news programs played clips during their broadcasts. Social media. Users had found Belinda's professional profile and workplace. The law firm's Yelp page was flooded with one-star reviews. Belinda Whitaker represents everything wrong with America. If their office manager racially profiles innocent people, imagine how they treat their clients. Belinda's daughter, 16-year-old Ashley, called from her father's house where she stayed on weekends. "Mom, people at school are talking about you," Ashley said, her voice trembling. "Jenna's mom won't let her come over anymore. She says you're racist." "That's not true," Belinda protested weakly. "It was a misunderstanding." "Then why won't you explain it to everyone?" Ashley demanded. "Why are you hiding?" Belinda had no answer. Marcus's delivery company released a statement. "We stand firmly with our driver, who was simply performing his duties when he was reported to police. We condemn racial profiling in all forms and are cooperating with our employee during this difficult time." The statement was accompanied by a professional photo of Marcus in his uniform, smiling. The company had asked his permission to use his image and full name. After talking it over with Tara, he had agreed. "If this is happening to me, it's happening to other drivers," he had explained to her. "Maybe speaking up will help change things." His name and face were now public. News programs wanted interviews. Civil rights organizations reached out. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Local community leaders organized a forum on racial profiling and delivery driver safety. Marcus was invited to be a keynote speaker. The event was scheduled for the following week at the community center just blocks from Belinda's house. 5 days after the incident, Belinda ventured out for groceries. She wore sunglasses and a baseball cap, but the cashier still recognized her. "You're that lady from the video," the young woman said loudly. Other customers turned to look. Belinda abandoned her cart and fled the store. At home, she found a letter in her mailbox. It was from the law firm. Richard Harmon wrote that after careful consideration, they had decided to terminate her employment, effective immediately. "The values displayed in the widely circulated video do not align with our firm's commitment to diversity and inclusion," the letter stated. Belinda crumpled the letter and cried. 12 years until retirement, and now her career was in shambles, her reputation destroyed, all because of one phone call. That night, she finally opened the stitch box that had started it all. Inside were clothes she had ordered weeks ago: a blouse, a scarf, a pair of earrings. Ordinary items delivered by an ordinary man just doing his job. Her doorbell rang again. Belinda ignored it at first, assuming it was another reporter. But when she peeked through the blinds, She saw it was her neighbor, Vernon Harris. She opened the door cautiously. "Yes?" Vernon leaned on his cane. "There's a community forum next Thursday about what happened," he said without preamble. "I think you should go." Belinda shook her head. "No one wants to hear from me, Vernon." "That's where you're wrong," he replied. "If you want a chance to show you're not the person in that video, you need to face this head-on." He handed her a flyer for the event. Marcus Johnson's name was listed as the main speaker. After Vernon left, Belinda stared at the flyer for a long time. Could she face Marcus again? Could she face her community? Did she even deserve the chance? She thought about Ashley, about her job, about her neighbor's cold stares. Perhaps Vernon was right. Hiding hadn't helped. Belinda marked the date on her calendar and set the flyer on her kitchen counter next to the now empty stitch box. The days that followed were the loneliest of Belinda's life. She barely left her house. Grocery deliveries came from a service that left bags at her door. No direct contact required. She jumped whenever her phone rang, which was less and less often as friends stopped calling. Even her closest friend, Teresa, had sent a text that cut deep. "I need some time to process this. What you did doesn't match the person I thought I knew." Belinda had tried crafting an apology to post online. She'd written and rewritten it a dozen times, but nothing sounded right. Every version seemed hollow, defensive, or self-pitying. Finally, she posted, "I want to apologize for my actions last week. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry for the trouble I caused." The internet's response was swift and merciless. "That's not an apology. You're just sorry you got caught." "Where's the part where you admit your racism?" "Too little, too late, Karen." Belinda deleted the post after just 3 hours, but screenshots lived on forever. When she checked her mailbox, she found it stuffed with letters. Some contained genuine questions about why she'd called the police. Others were hate mail. One envelope held a torn-up job application to a fast food restaurant with a note. "You'll need this now." She cried until she had no tears left, then sat in her silent house, wondering how her life had imploded so completely in less than a week. Across town, Marcus was facing his own kind of fallout. His simple routine had been shattered. Customers on his route now reacted to him in strange new ways. Some avoided eye contact, scurrying inside when they saw his van approaching. Others went out of their way to be excessively friendly, calling out greetings and making comments about the weather, as if trying to prove something. "You're such a wonderful delivery man," gushed a woman who had never acknowledged him before. "We're so lucky to have you in our neighborhood." Marcus just wanted to do his job without becoming a symbol or a statement. Worst were the people who took videos when he delivered packages, their phones tracking his movements. He felt like an animal in a zoo. "Can I get a selfie with you?" asked one young man, phone already raised. "You're like internet famous now." Marcus had politely declined. At home, Tara was worried about the attention. "Your face is everywhere, Marcus. People know where you work, what route you drive." "It'll blow over," he assured her, but he wasn't certain. His supervisor had offered him a different delivery route, but Marcus had refused. "If I switch routes, it looks like I did something wrong." "I didn't." But each morning as he started his van, his stomach knotted thinking about what might happen that day. He'd been delivering packages for 6 years without incident, and now every drop-off felt like walking through a minefield. Lily had noticed the change in her father. "Why are you sad, Daddy?" she asked one night as he tucked her in. Marcus forced a smile. "Just tired, sunshine. Grown-up stuff." His 10-year-old son, Jamal, was more perceptive. "Is it because of that lady who called the police on you?" he asked over breakfast. Marcus and Tara exchanged looks. They had tried to shield the children, but Jamal had overheard them talking. "Some of my friends saw the video," Jamal continued. "They said you're famous now." Marcus put down his coffee. "We need to talk about that. What happened wasn't right, but it's important how we respond to wrong things." That evening, he sat with both children and explained in simple terms what had happened. "Sometimes people judge others by how they look, not who they are," he said. "It's not fair, but it happens. Like when Tommy wouldn't let me play basketball. Because I'm a girl?" Lily asked. "Something like that." Marcus nodded. "But bigger and with a longer history." "Did you get mad at the lady?" Jamal wanted to know. Marcus thought carefully. "I felt many things. Scared, angry, sad. But what matters is how I acted. I stayed calm and told the truth." "Is the lady in trouble now?" Lily asked. Marcus sighed. "I think she's learning that actions have consequences." Indeed, Belinda was learning that lesson daily. Her neighbors, once friendly, now avoided her completely. She noticed her garbage can had been moved back from the curb after collection. Vernon had always done that for her. Now it sat at the roadside until she dragged it back herself. When she waved to Zoe Chen in the grocery store, Zoe had turned her cart down another aisle. The community forum was 2 days away. Belinda still hadn't decided if she would attend. The thought of facing Marcus, of facing everyone, made her physically ill. But staying home, hiding from what she'd done, wasn't helping either. Her daughter Ashley had refused to visit the past weekend. "Everyone at school knows, Mom," she'd said on the phone, her voice cracking. "They're saying awful things about you. About us." "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," Belinda had whispered, her heart breaking. "Are you?" Ashley had challenged. "Because you haven't really explained why you did it." Then she had hung up. That question haunted Belinda. Why had she done it? Why had the sight of Marcus on her porch triggered such fear and suspicion? She forced herself to watch the ring footage again, trying to see it objectively. Marcus had done nothing threatening, nothing suspicious. He'd simply delivered a package while being black in a neighborhood where most residents weren't. The realization made her stomach turn. Belinda had always considered herself not racist. She had black colleagues at work whom she chatted with in the break room. She'd voted for Obama. She donated to hurricane relief for Haiti. But now, alone with her thoughts, uglier truths surfaced. The way she clutched her purse tighter when young black men entered an elevator. The surprise she felt when a black doctor treated her mother in the hospital. The casual comments at family dinners that went unchallenged. These thoughts kept her awake as the community forum approached. The morning of the event, Belinda received a text from Ashley. "Dad says you should go to that meeting tonight." "I think so too." Belinda stared at the message for a long time. If she went, what would she say? What could she possibly say to make things right? At noon, her doorbell rang. It was a delivery, another package. Belinda froze, then slowly approached the door. Through the peephole, she saw a delivery woman walking back to her van. Belinda opened the door and picked up the small box. The return address was her sister's in Oregon, probably the birthday gift she sent every year. As Belinda carried the package inside, she noticed a familiar delivery van turning onto her street. Her heart raced. It was Marcus's van. She watched through the blinds as he delivered a package to her neighbor's house. He moved efficiently, professionally, just as he had on the day she'd called the police. Belinda suddenly realized she would go to the forum that night. Not because Vernon suggested it, or because Ashley pushed for it, but because she needed to face what she had done. She spent the rest of the afternoon preparing what she would say, knowing no words could undo the damage. At 6:30 that evening, Belinda parked 3 blocks from the community center and walked the rest of the way. Sunglasses, covering her eyes despite the dimming light. She slipped in through a side door and took a seat in the back row just as the forum was beginning. The community center was packed. Television cameras lined the back wall. On the stage sat a panel, community leaders, a police representative, and in the center, Marcus Johnson in a button-down shirt rather than his delivery uniform. Belinda pulled her baseball cap lower and sank into her seat, pulse pounding in her ears. What had she gotten herself into? The moderator, a local news anchor, stepped to the microphone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this important conversation about racial profiling in our community and its impact on essential workers like delivery drivers. Let's begin with our keynote speaker, Marcus Johnson. As Marcus approached the microphone, the audience erupted in applause. Belinda's hands remained still in her lap, her shame a physical weight pressing down on her. Marcus waited for the clapping to die down before speaking. His voice was calm and steady, filling the packed community center. "I didn't ask to be here tonight," he began. "A week ago, I was just a delivery driver doing my job. Today, I'm apparently the face of something much bigger." The audience listened, in complete silence. "What happened to me happens to delivery drivers, joggers, shoppers, and everyday people doing everyday things," Marcus continued. "The difference is that my experience was caught on camera." From her seat in the back row, Belinda could only see Marcus's profile. She pulled her cap lower, grateful for the anonymity in the crowded room. "I'm not here to talk about one person who made one phone call," Marcus said. "I'm here to talk about what all of us can do differently tomorrow." Belinda looked up, surprised. She had expected anger, accusations, demands for justice. Instead, Marcus spoke about community, about seeing one another as neighbors rather than strangers, about pausing before making assumptions. "I've been delivering packages in this community for 6 years," he said. "I know your houses, your dogs, which porches have loose boards. I've seen your children grow up through the windows as I drop off their birthday presents. But many of you never saw me until last week." The words hit Belinda like a physical blow. How many times had Marcus delivered packages to her house? Had she ever really looked at him before? "I don't want revenge," Marcus was saying. "I don't want anyone canceled or destroyed. What I want is for my children to grow up in a world where they're not seen as threats just for existing in certain spaces." Several people in the audience wiped away tears. Belinda fought back her own. After Marcus finished speaking, other panel members shared their thoughts. A police representative discussed proper use of 911 and community policing efforts. A civil rights lawyer outlined the legal aspects of racial profiling. A local business owner talked about diversity training for employees. Throughout it all, Belinda sat frozen in her seat. Each word seemed directed at her, though no one knew she was there. No one except Vernon Harris, who had spotted her from his seat near the front and given her a small nod of acknowledgement. When the forum opened for questions, several people lined up at microphones placed in the aisles. Belinda remained seated, her prepared words stuck in her throat. A woman asked Marcus, "If you could speak directly to the person who called the police on you, what would you say?" The room grew absolutely silent. Every eye turned to Marcus. He thought for a moment before answering. "I'd say I don't hate you. I'd say I understand fear. but fear shouldn't control our actions. I'd say I hope this experience leads to reflection rather than defensiveness. And I'd say I'm willing to have a conversation, a real conversation, if you are. Belinda felt hot tears spill down her cheeks. She had expected, maybe even hoped, for anger and accusations. Those she could fight against, deflect, excuse. This grace she didn't deserve was harder to bear. As the forum wound down, people began to stand, talking among themselves. Belinda slipped out a side door before anyone could recognize her. Outside, the cool evening air hit her tear-stained face. She walked quickly toward her car, eager to escape before the crowd emerged. Mrs. Whitaker. The voice stopped her in her tracks. Vernon Harris stood a few feet away, leaning on his cane. "You came," he said. It wasn't a question. Belinda nodded, unable to speak. "Good," Vernon said. "It was an important first step." First step toward what? Belinda finally found her voice. "My life is over, Vernon. My job, my reputation, my relationship with my daughter. Everything is ruined." Vernon shook his head, slowly. "Your life isn't over. It's changed, yes. But what happens next is still up to you." "What can I possibly do to fix this?" Belinda asked, gesturing helplessly. "Start by being honest with yourself," Vernon said. "Really honest. About why you made that call." Belinda looked away. "I've been thinking about nothing else for days." "And?" Vernon prompted. "And?" Belinda took a deep breath. "And I'm starting to see things about myself I never wanted to see." Vernon nodded. "That's the real first step." They stood in silence for a moment before Vernon spoke again. "My late wife used to say that true growth only happens when staying the same becomes more painful than changing." Belinda wiped away a fresh tear. "Well, I've certainly reached that point." "Then you have a chance," Vernon said. "Not to erase what happened, but to learn from it. To become someone different because of it." As Vernon walked away, Belinda remained rooted to the spot, his words echoing in her mind. Could she really change? Did she even know how? Back home, Belinda couldn't sleep. She replayed Marcus's words over and over. "I'm willing to have a conversation, a real conversation, if you are." At 3 a.m., she sat at her kitchen table, staring at her Ring doorbell app. She scrolled back through weeks of recorded deliveries. There was Marcus, delivering packages to her door time after time. Always professional, always careful, sometimes in rain, once in snow. Never once had she really looked at him. She clicked on a delivery from 2 months earlier, a heavy package that Marcus had placed with extra care by her door, taking time to position it so the rain wouldn't reach it under her porch overhang. That package had contained prescription medication for her mother, who was staying with her after surgery. Essential medication that had run out sooner than expected. Belinda remembered how grateful she'd been when it arrived on time despite the storm that day. She'd even written a thank you note to the delivery company, but she'd never seen the driver's face. Until now. The next morning, Belinda called her daughter. "Ashley, I need to tell you something," she said when her daughter answered. "I'm not going to make excuses for what I did. I was wrong, and I'm just beginning to understand how wrong." There was silence on the other end of the line. "I can't promise I'll never make another mistake," Belinda continued, "but I can promise I'm trying to learn, to really see people, not just categories." "Mom," Ashley finally spoke, her voice small, "I don't want to be ashamed of you." I know, sweetheart. I don't want you to be either, Belinda said softly. I'm going to work on giving you reasons to be proud instead. After they hung up, Belinda sat thinking about what she'd said. She'd meant every word. But words were easy. How could she actually change years of ingrained thoughts and reactions? She opened her laptop and began researching. She found books about unconscious bias, articles about racial profiling, and videos of similar incidents that had happened across the country. She ordered several books and bookmarked dozens of articles. It was a start, she told herself. A small one, but genuine. That afternoon, her doorbell rang. The Ring app showed a delivery driver on her porch. Belinda froze when she saw who it was. Marcus Johnson stood at her door, a small package in his hands. He placed it down carefully, took the confirmation photo, and turned to leave. Without thinking, Belinda rushed to the door and pulled it open. Marcus turned back, surprise crossing his face when he saw her. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. I was at the forum last night, Belinda blurted out. In the back, Marcus nodded slowly. I thought you might be. I heard what you said about being willing to have a conversation, Belinda continued, her heart pounding. I don't deserve your time or forgiveness, but if you meant it, I would like to talk. Really talk. Marcus studied her face, his expression unreadable. Behind him, the Ring doorbell camera silently recorded everything. I meant what I said, Marcus finally replied, but I've got 3 more deliveries to make before my shift ends. Belinda nodded quickly. Of course, I understand. An awkward silence hung between them. Belinda glanced at the package by her feet, then back at Marcus. Maybe after your shift, she suggested hesitantly. Or whenever works for you. I could make coffee, or not. Whatever you're comfortable with. Marcus seemed to consider this. I finish at 5. There's a coffee shop on Oakwood Drive. Public place. 6 o'clock. Yes, Belinda said, relief washing over her. Greenleaf coffee? I'll be there. Marcus nodded once, then turned and walked back to his van. Belinda watched him go, her heart racing. She had a chance to speak with him, but what could she possibly say? At 5:55, Belinda sat at a corner table in Greenleaf Coffee, a small shop with warm lighting and plants hanging from the ceiling. She'd arrived 20 minutes early, ordered a latte she couldn't drink, and checked her watch every 30 seconds since. The bell over the door jingled. Marcus walked in, still wearing his delivery uniform, but without the company cap. He scanned the room, spotted Belinda, and walked over. Thank you for coming, Belinda said, as he sat down across from her. I said I was willing to have a conversation, Marcus replied. I keep my word. A barista approached, and Marcus ordered black coffee. They sat in uncomfortable silence until his drink arrived. I don't know where to start, Belinda admitted. Most people start with, I'm sorry, Marcus suggested, his tone not unkind. I am sorry, Belinda said quickly. So sorry. But I know that's not enough. Marcus took a sip of his coffee. Why did you call the police on me? The directness of the question caught Belinda off guard, though she'd been asking herself the same. Thing for days. I've been thinking about that constantly, she said. At first, I told myself it was because you weren't Jamie, our regular driver, but that's not really it. She took a deep breath before continuing. The truth is, when I saw you, I felt afraid. Not because of anything you did, but because... She faltered. Because I'm a black man, Marcus finished for her. Belinda nodded, shame coloring her cheeks. Yes, And that's on me. That's my problem, not yours. I never thought of myself as prejudiced, but my actions that day showed otherwise. Marcus nodded slightly, his expression still guarded. Recognition is a start. It's not just about that day, Belinda continued. It's about all the little thoughts and assumptions I've carried my whole life without examining them. Things my parents said, things I saw on the news, stereotypes I never questioned. She looked directly at Marcus. None of that excuses what I did. I just want you to know I'm trying to understand why I did it, so I can change. For the first time, Marcus's expression softened slightly. That's more honesty than most people manage. They sipped their drinks in a silence that felt marginally less tense. I lost my job, Belinda said eventually. I know, Marcus replied. My neighbor is a paralegal at your firm. I deserved to lose it, Belinda acknowledged. Actions have consequences. Marcus leaned forward. Can I tell you something? I don't want your punishment. That doesn't help me or my kids or anyone else. What I want is change. Real change in how people think and act. Belinda nodded. I want that too. I'm just not sure how to get there. You start by doing what you're doing now, Marcus said. Talking less, listening more, questioning your assumptions, educating yourself without expecting others to do the work for you. I ordered some books, Belinda offered tentatively. Reading is good, Marcus agreed, but living differently is better. They talked for nearly an hour. Marcus told her about growing up as one of few black children in his school, about the talks his parents had with him about how to behave around police, about the subtle ways he'd been treated differently throughout his life. Belinda mostly listened, occasionally asking questions but never interrupting or becoming defensive. The conversation wasn't easy, but it felt necessary. My daughter's school play was that night, Marcus said. The night you called the police. I almost missed it. Belinda closed her eyes briefly. I'm so sorry. What part did she play? A sunflower, Marcus said, a genuine smile crossing his face for the first time. The tallest sunflower in the garden. I bet she was wonderful, Belinda said softly. She was, Marcus confirmed. They all were. As they prepared to leave, Belinda gathered her courage. Would you be willing to talk again sometime? I understand if you wouldn't, but… Marcus considered this. Maybe. Let's see how we both feel in a few weeks. It wasn't much, but it was something. A door left slightly open. In the parking lot, Marcus paused before getting into his car. There's something I'm curious about. That package I delivered the day you called the police, what was in it? Clothes, Belinda answered. Just a monthly subscription box, nothing important. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. You get a lot of deliveries. Almost every week, it seems like. I suppose I do, Belinda admitted. I don't shop in stores much anymore. Do. You remember a delivery from January? During that big snowstorm? Marcus asked suddenly. A package from MedExpress? Belinda's eyes widened. Yes, it was medication for my mother after her heart surgery. The regular mail was delayed because of the storm, but the package came through anyway. It was so important. Her prescription had run out early. I remember that delivery, Marcus said. The roads were terrible. My supervisor told me I could skip the difficult addresses, but I knew medical deliveries were essential. Belinda stared at him, the pieces suddenly clicking together. That was you? You delivered my mother's heart medication? Marcus nodded. I recognized your address when I started covering this route. I remembered because you sent a thank you note to the company. They posted it in the break room. Belinda's hand flew to her mouth. I wrote that the delivery driver was a hero, that he might have saved my mother's life. That was you. and I never even saw your face. And then, 2 months later, you called the police on me, Marcus said quietly, without accusation. Tears filled Belinda's eyes. The same person I praised as a hero became someone I feared just because I finally saw what you looked like. The weight of this realization hung in the air between them. That delivery was just me doing my job, Marcus said finally. Just like I was doing my job the day you called the police. I understand that now, Belinda whispered. Too late. But I understand. Marcus opened his car door. Maybe not too late for change. He paused. Good night, Ms. Whitaker. Good night, Mr. Johnson, Belinda replied. And thank you for the conversation and for my mother's medication. For both times, you were just doing your job. Marcus drove away, leaving Belinda standing alone in the parking lot. She took a deep breath of the cool evening air, feeling as though something had shifted inside her. A first small step on a long journey. The next morning, she called Ashley. Would you like to come over this weekend? There are some things I'd like us to talk about. Really talk about. Okay, Mom, Ashley said. I'd like that. Belinda hung up and walked to her front door. The Ring doorbell camera glowed softly beside it. She thought about removing it, but decided against it. The camera hadn't been the problem. It had been her own eyes, her own mind, her own heart that had failed to truly see. The camera had captured the truth that day, the truth about Marcus doing his job, and the truth about Belinda herself. Painful as it was, that truth was necessary. Now, looking through her window at the neighborhood she'd lived in for 15 years, Belinda wondered how much else she had failed to really see. The lesson had come at tremendous cost. To her career, her reputation, and most significantly, to Marcus and his family. But as Vernon had said, true growth only happens when staying the same becomes more painful than changing. And Belinda had finally reached that threshold. Outside, a delivery truck pulled up across the street. A driver emerged with a package, walking confidently up to the neighbor's door. This time, Belinda saw him clearly, not as a category or a stereotype, but as a person doing his job in a world where that should never be dangerous. Her Ring doorbell chimed with a notification. Looking down at her phone, she saw that Marcus had been assigned back to his regular route. He would be delivering to her neighborhood again today. Belinda put her phone away and opened a new book from her growing stack. The title read, How to Be an Anti-Racist. She had a lot to learn, but for the first time, she was truly ready to begin. And that was the end of our story. The camera never lies. Where are you listening from today? If you enjoyed this emotional journey about prejudice, reflection, and the possibility of change, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content like this. Share this video with your friends and family to help spread kindness and awareness. Small actions can make a big difference in how we see and treat one another. Thank you for listening.